This final podcast of the series is intended to highlight the effects that politics could have on future games, specifically the up-and-coming London 2012 Olympics.
We aim to discuss whether there are any foreseen problems to the next Olympic Games and understand the measures that have been put in place to prevent the problems from reoccurring.
From the previous two podcasts, we have discovered there are many features that will need to be addressed by the IOC and BOC to ensure the safety and stop public humiliation should anyone use the Games to act on a political movement.
We now go to the Houses of Parliament, where we were speaking to Baroness Neville-Jones, who is the Shadow Security Minister and has a huge role in national security surrounding the period of the Games.
What domestic problems can you foresee for the Olympic Games in 2012?
You have to do some risk assessment. You have to know, broadly speaking, what the international threat and terrorist activity is.
Are there any specific groups that you can predict making a movement over London over the Olympic period?
These days we know perfectly well that there is a global security and terrorist threat on the one hand, and the UK is a particular target. The sort of groups, well, we know they are various forms of global terrorism. It's Al Qaeda. Most of the threat in the UK actually does come from people who have connections with Afghanistan, Pakistan, that border territory.
Yeah.
If I was thinking about this, I'd go for sort of softer target, like some bit of the transport system.
Okay.
Or build the airport, or something like that. There's the Olympic period, but if I did something 2 weeks before, wouldn't that create a horrible mess?
What is the budget for the Olympics and how much of it is spent on security?
It's about 600 million.
So then, is it clear, have extensive measures been put into security against violent political protests at the Games?
Well, I think as we learned from Baroness Neville-Jones, from what she was saying, London 2012 has to be on high alert and fully prepared to prevent a terrorist incident such as the Munich attacks or even demonstrations that might turn violent, like in Mexico City in 1968.
Due to the massive focus on security, it is clear that the London Olympic Committee are very concerned about outside groups and organisations bringing their political campaigns into 2012. But is this in fact a good idea?
Well, as we've learned from the previous two podcasts in our series, the only successful political demonstrations that actually receive a benefit from showcasing at the Games are either promoting liberal causes to highlight human rights and equality,
or coming directly from the athletes themselves in protests at medal ceremonies or other occasions when they know that the focus is directly on them.
For major terrorist groups, say Islamic extremists or Palestinian separatists, for them to bring their cause to the Games to highlight injustices they experience is historically, and in terms of support, the movement is an absolute disaster internationally. For starters, many examples of violence at the Games have been met with international condemnation. Plus, it is likely that the nation from the terrorists will have athletes representing them at the Games, and so an attack on the athletes will not even be received well domestically for the group.
And on top of the internal and external deterrents, a major terrorist action on, say, the USA team or any other major world power, say China or Russia, could result in a violent retaliation leading to further plight and injustice for the people and cause the group that they're protesting for.
So a logical conclusion from these considerations is that an organised terrorist attack on 2012 would be a poor choice from any terrorist group. I think, the evidence for this lies in the history of terrorist attacks and the history of political organisations bringing their causes to the Games, especially when they do it in a violent way.
However, it is worth considering the possibility that an attack might not be designed to gain support for a movement or highlighting an injustice. It might just be anarchic, in which case London 2012 offers a prime opportunity. The eyes of the world will be on London, and the attack would probably receive more coverage than any attack before, since 9/11.
Okay, if we assume that an attack on London during the Olympic summer would simply be anarchic, then yes, the Olympics offers a great opportunity for a terrorist group to receive massive impact and coverage. However, if the attack has any semblance of logic, then all political organisations must look at the history, at the past examples, and it is clear that bringing politics to the Games in this way is not a good idea unless you do it through the medium of a competing athlete.
Or a liberal cause.
Thank you very much for watching this podcast series. We hope you've enjoyed it and found it intellectually stimulating.
It's clearly through an athlete.
It's supporting liberalism.
If you have any questions or any issues that you may have arisen from this, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you very much.